I'm JD Shields. I'm the writer and director of Blue Hour. And Blue Hour is a short film about a young photographer who is hired to do a portrait gig at the last minute. And when she and her client meet, it's a unexpected turn of events that leads to a very emotional, deep exchange between the two of them during the photography session.
When I watched your film, I have a background as a photographer as well, as a filmmaker. I think a lot of filmmakers are also photographers too. So it struck me the imagery that was also in this. The main character is a photographer, and when I was researching you, I saw your website. You take some really nice shots as well. Is this an idea that you always had, that you wanted to have a lead character photographer?
I think in general with my writing, I've thought a lot about characters who are photographers, but the idea for this came because I met a bereavement photographer at a friend's birthday party. She was late to the birthday party, and I kind of introduced myself, and she explained why she was late because she was taking photos. She volunteers for an organization that provides like nonprofit bereavement photography for couples or individuals experiencing the loss of an infant. And I was just like really struck by it. And, we went out for lunch and I picked her brain and I just knew there was a film there. And so we're still friends to this day. But it was inspired by her photography.
Has she seen the film?
She has not. She's waiting to see the film
Oh,
at its LA premiere.
oh, okay.
This month, but she had the option to see the film, but she wanted to wait until she could see it at a proper screening, so she'll get to see it this month actually, and she's in the credits. Her name is Deb Marco.
Oh, okay, great. I
Marcon.
Let me ask you this: as an established writer, you worked for DreamWorks and Sony. Was writing always your main goal, or did you always want to step behind the camera? Is this the first film that you directed?
So writing was always initially the main goal. It's not the first film I directed. I applied to film school on a whim because I was a writer who wasn't writing, and I didn't have full length writing samples. And so I thought, well, where can I apply? I can apply to film school because, you write the short film samples. And so that's kind of where I discovered a love for moving image, and also, developing a writing process at film school really influenced my writing style a lot as well. So it's not my first film. It's the first film I festivaled though. I guess like prior to that, a lot of, I don't want to say imposter syndrome, but I was very subconscious about sending work out into the world. So Blue Hour is the first film that I've sent out into the world.
Oh, when I first saw it, I loved it.
Thank
So
you.
I have a prior relationship with Maya because she sent in a previous film, Diablo, and so she's a legacy filmmaker, so I just looked at it right away because I know the kind of work that she produces, and I just love the film.
Thank you.
What was the process shooting it? How long did it take for you to shoot this and complete it?
Sure. We shot for, I want to say 3.25 days. It was pretty contained, pretty short. We shot in the Los Angeles area. And so the shooting didn't take entirely too long, but it did take us a while to kind of finish VFX, finish score, and then color kind of was the last thing. And shout out to PhotoChem. They did an amazing job at a great rate. So we really appreciate that. But so yeah, production was pretty tight. And then, post took a minute.
You did this through the workshop at AFI, Directing Workshop for Women.
Mm-hmm.
We've gotten several films from them over the years too. I know an instructor there. And why don't you explain how that process works with the AFI?
Yes. So the film was originally, actually it was written while I was a fellow and Project Involve, which is a film independent filmmaking fellowship where I was a screenwriter in that program. And the script at that time was called Renee and Jazz, and a different script was selected for production. And so afterwards, I linked up with Diana Ward, who's one of the other producers, who was also a Project Involve alum. and we decided to go make it. And so initially we got a grant through the Women in Film Production Program. And I knew that I always wanted to do AFI's directing workshop for women. I thought it would take making Blue Hour to get in. And on a whim, I just decided, once again, these whims, I just decided to go ahead and apply this year and just, start the process, so to speak. And we got in. And so it became kind of the first collaboration between the two organizations, Women in Film and the Directing Workshop for Women. And going through that process is great. There are, I believe, I want to say 7 other filmmakers in my cohort. And there's script development, there are workshops, and then we all go out and shoot. I was one of the last to shoot. We were derailed a little bit because of the pandemic. And so it's a great community and cohort of other filmmakers to go through the process with and kind of shepherd you through the process as well.
What were some of your influences in making the film?
Sure, visual influences. Well, obviously the 4x3 and wanting to use a square frame as reflective of the type of camera that the protagonist is using, Renee. I really wanted to use kind of pastel-y, lighter tones that kind of worked against or helped to soften some of the darker nature of the subject matter, and also to kind of highlight the beauty of this experience, even though it's not maybe ending in the most pleasant way. There is kind of beauty in what's happening between these characters and happening for Jazz, the secondary character.
With your background in TV, it's a different writing process when you're writing for film, because you have to be confined to a runtime. You have to be confined to basically commercial breaks and stuff like that. How is the process of writing for TV then moving into film?
Well, they're so different in so many ways. I think what I tend to write for myself is different from even like pilots that I'm writing for myself. Like things that I'm writing as a writer director tend to be very different from things that I'm writing for more of a commercial space. But in terms of the process itself, I don't know, they're like such different mediums in a way. Television is a very character-driven medium. And I think often, not that character isn't important in film, but, we're looking at a story, like a story arc from beginning to end. And with TV, it's as though, if your character changes too much, then we don't really have a show. So things, I think fundamentally television is very different. But one of the things that I do like about it is that I love several things about it, but one thing that I really love about it is that, well, it's collaborative. And so it's great to kind of be in a room with 8 or 10 other writers and just kind of see the magic of story happening in real time. And because of the time constraints, in terms of deadlines, you just kind of learn how to write so much faster and under stress. And so I definitely have become a stronger writer for it.
Do you often focus on more character relationships, or do you when you write, or more on the concept?
I usually, especially for short films, because I think short films, are very different from features, and they kind of, for me, are about an impactful moment, kind of building to an impactful moment. With short films, I'm usually kind of inspired by one little random something or other, and that'll kind of be the spark of something. So it doesn't usually start from a story place, but more just kind of a little like speck of inspiration, and then in a really specific container is kind of how I like to describe it. And then from there, I just kind of think of like what person would be in this environment, and like what would they be doing, and who would they be interacting with. And so I tend to be an outside in kind of worker. I know that a lot of people are, character out. I guess I find inspiration or a situation or a place that is inspiring to me, and then think about who occupies it. And so in that way, I guess I'm outside in and then inside out.
Marvelous. What projects are you going to be working on next?
Well, in my own work, I am working towards another short film. There's two different ideas that I'm juggling right now. One is kind of a proof of concept for a first feature idea. The other is maybe a standalone short. And then I'm also, writing new pilots. Obviously, the guild is on strike right now,
Yeah.
so hopefully that'll wrap up soon, and then we'll be back in the mix with other television shows. So I guess the future is bright and open, hopefully.
How's the film doing on the festival circuit?
It's doing well. We premiered at Brooklyn Film Festival. We're having our West Coast premiere at Holly Shorts in 10 days, 9 days, so that's exciting, and then off to you all in Milwaukee.
Well, great. Well, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.